What's going on, guys? Tom here, and welcome to the first ever Football Manager 2016 experiment on my channel. Today we're doing a little bit of a strange rumour that's been circulating through the media in recent weeks, and that is Troy Deeney to Arsenal. Now, I have set it up in the pre-game editor that he has joined them on the day I am recording this, which is the 12th of January. I've done that because it means he will be signing from in a kind of a similar area to when he'd be signing for them in the future. So it'd give him a kind of the same amount of time to make an impact in the first team. Now he's come in as a backup, which I'd assume would be more of a role for him in the current Arsenal squad, which is behind Giroud and Walcott. And if we look, Arsenal have paid £10 million for him. Now, so far in this first half of the Premier League season, Troy Deeney has scored 7 goals in 19 appearances for Watford, which isn't terrible. And Arsenal are currently sitting in 3rd place in the Premier Division, some way behind Chelsea and Manchester City. There's not a lot I can do about that unless I use FMRTE, but I don't really want to get involved with that. It's not that important. We're just focusing on Troy Deeney and whether he can make his way into this Arsenal team and break into the first 11, which is really what we want him to do. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing 3.5 seasons. What we're going to originally do is holiday just half a season to the end of this first year of the Premier League to see how he gets on from January to May. If he does well, hopefully he will do. Hopefully he won't be transfer listed or anything like that, but it'll give us an outlay on how Troy Deeney is going to do if he does sign the deal, sign the ting, and pull on an Arsenal shirt this month. So bear with me just a moment, lads. I will skip forward half a season and we will have a look at how Troy Deeney has done for Arsenal. Righty-ho, so we are back on the 15th of June 2016. All the club competitions are over. The Premier League's done, the Champions League's done. So all that remains is the question, what has happened to Troy Deeney? Let's have a look. Okie dokie, so he's still at Arsenal, obviously. They're not going to sell him in the same window. He's still a backup player, and his value has declined slightly. Now, let's have a look at the games he's played specifically for Arsenal, and it doesn't look too good for him. He's only made 4 appearances, 2 starts, and 2 as a substitute. And he scored, to be fair to him, he's scored 2 goals in those 4 games, which is kind of what you'd want from a striker, a goal every 2 games. So he's taken the chances he's had, and he's also got that 7.27 average rating. Now, in terms of personal for him, it's not been great for him since moving to Arsenal. Well, he came when there's 19 games left to go, 19 games played in the Premiership. That's 11 games. No, it isn't. That is, how many games is that remaining? That's another 19 games on top of that. So he's only played 4 of 19, which is a little bit disappointing actually. So we'll have to see what happens in the summer. See if Arsenal decide to sell him or not, or actually give him a chance in the first team, because they paid £10 million for this man, and he's taken his chance. So it's a little bit disappointing to see him not play. Now Arsenal in general, let's see the season they had. They won the Capital One Cup final. They beat Man City on penalties. Did Troy Deeney play? No, he didn't even make the team for that, which is unfortunate. In the Champions League, they were knocked out when? Oh, looks like they were knocked out on the away goal rule via Chelsea, and they finished 3rd in the Premier League, which is annoying. I'd love to see them win it, which we're going to do this year, let's face it. Let's see when Troy Deeney actually scored. He scored in the league, so we'll just look for his name in here and see if it will actually let us view his goals. You never know. I have to be perfectly frank here. I cannot see Troy Deeney's name actually anywhere. Oh, that's because I'm looking before he signed. This should be better. This should be easier. There we go. He scored in successive games actually. He scored 8 minutes in against Bournemouth. Will it let us view it? It won't, unfortunately. I haven't got the detail level on high enough. So he scored 8 minutes in against Bournemouth, and he scored 34 minutes into a game against Aston Villa, both at the Emirates. And then unfortunately, they dropped him. Which is a little bit harsh, to be fair. He scored in successive games. Giroud comes back into the squad and plays a 6.2. And then Walcott obviously gets his place back, plays a 6.4. Giroud 6.9. So I feel like it was hard done by there, not to start more games. But what we'll do, we'll give him another season minimum to see if he can break into the Arsenal squad. And I feel like if he hasn't done it by next season, this may well be a flop transfer. And at the end of this episode, I'll be recommending Troy Deeney not to sign for Arsenal. Okie dokie, so we are back on the 15th of June 2017. Another season has passed, and I'm wondering to myself, has Troy Deeney managed to break his way into the Arsenal lineup? Now, there's so many variables as to whether he can do this. Will enough strikers get injured for him to get a spot? Will Arsenal sign anyone better? Well, it all depends, doesn't it? So we're going to have a look, and we're going to try and see what's happened. So let's hit the back button and see what's happened to Troy Deeney. He's earning more now. I think he signed a new contract, but they have sent him out on loan, which is really upsetting. And where have they sent him out on loan to? Brentford. He scored 24 and 43 in the Championship for Brentford. Which is quite upsetting, actually. I was hoping they'd give him a chance. So it looks like it's going to be £10 million wasted for Arsenal. We'll see why they've done that. Let's look at their transfers to see if they brought anybody in, I guess. There's your reason. For some reason they've signed Dejan Lovren, but they've signed Alvaro Morata for £55 million. He scored 17 and 32 for him. So Troy Deeney's hopes from achieving at Arsenal look to have been dashed by the young Spaniard Alvaro Morata. So we'll just see how Arsenal have done in general. It doesn't really matter. No, we won't see how Arsenal have done in general. Well, we will. Never mind. Okay, fourth in the league. Won the Europa League. Alvaro Morata scoring the winner. FA Cup, they got to the 6th round before being knocked out by Man City. And the Capital One Cup, they weren't able to retain it. They lost on penalties to Chelsea. I guess seeing as Troy Deeney went to Brentford, we may as well see how they did. As you can see, he is their key player. He's too good for the Championship, really. And they finished 10th. He finished as Championship top scorer, though. With Phobia and Chamak just beneath him. Blimey. So maybe that will give Arsenal the bit of a kick up the backside, saying, look, this guy could be a decent backup for us. But he can make it as an Arsenal player. I want you to make it, Troy Deeney. I want you to be an Arsenal player. Come on. You can prove yourself in 3 seasons and get into the first team. We're going to do one more season to see if Troy Deeney can make it into the Arsenal team, and that way we'll be able to determine whether he will be a success or a flop if Arsenal are to sign him in real life. Right, so here we are, final season. We are going to holiday for this for this experiment. Troy Deeney, has he broken into the Arsenal first team? Has he finally become a top striker in the Champions League? Well, we're about to find out. We can already see here, let's look at Arsenal's history first. We can already see here that Arsenal finished top of the Barclays Premier League, winning it only on goal difference. But bloody hell, that is a tight league. They've literally won it on goals, goals scored. That is close, and Man United are only a point behind. Chelsea only 5 points behind. So what a title race that must have been to be involved in. And Arsenal are the champions of England, which is great to see. Looking at some names in these scorers though, you've got Icardi's a notable one I can see. Morata's still there. Haven't seen Troy Deeney yet. Regardless, let's look at the other competitions. They were knocked out in the Capital One Cup quarter-final by Cardiff City. They were in the FA Cup. They were knocked out at home in a replay to Charlton Athletic. That must have been embarrassing. In the Champions League, they got past Chelsea in the quarterfinals, and then they're knocked out 5-4 on aggregate by FC Barcelona. Unfortunate for them there, but a 2-0 win on the final day in the Premier League, whereas Man City won 3-1, and Arsenal won the league on goals scored. So unfortunately for Arsenal, they only got the Premier League, which I guess I say unfortunately, that's good. But what about our man Troy? Let's see where he is in the squad. Okay, he's not in the first team. They've got some players like Olivier Nitcham. Icardi signed for him. How much do they pay for Icardi? 48 million. Doesn't look good for Deeney then in that case. They even brought in Shaqiri. And Giroud's left. And unfortunately, Troy Deeney was sold before the season started. He was sold for 2.2 million to Newcastle United. And he didn't do particularly well there either. He only got 4 goals in 20 games. Only 5 of those were starts, 15 of those off the bench. Didn't play any cup games. And you have to say that going to Arsenal was probably the mistake of his career. He was starting games at Watford. He was scoring goals. He was going to build up his reputation, potentially get into the England squad for the Euros. And unfortunately, going to Arsenal, they didn't give him the chance. They bought him. You wonder why they've bought him if they're going to do that. They paid 10 million for 2 goals. What's that? 5 million a goal. So unfortunately, Troy Deeney is an Arsenal flop. So if I was to give him one piece of advice, if there was a potential move on the table to the Gunners, and I could speak to him beforehand, I'd show him these stats. I'd show him this career history from the future. I'd say, listen, Troy, mate, don't make the move. You won't get the game time you want. You'll end up playing Championship, and you won't do very well in the Premier League, and you'll be a backup striker for Newcastle United rather than a Champions League goal scorer for Arsenal. So that does wrap up the first ever experiment on this channel of Football Manager 2016. Unfortunately for Troy Deeney, he didn't make the jump into the higher ranks of the Premier League. He just couldn't cut it. You could say that, or maybe he just wasn't given his chance. Maybe Arsenal didn't give him the time he needed, but you have to wonder why they didn't give him the chance. Did he not impress in training? But what was it? But that's what these experiments are for, to see if a transfer did go ahead, would it be a success? And we can categorically say that no, this one wasn't. So if you enjoyed this, please leave a like on the video, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Very, very close to 500 subs. I really want to get there soon as possible. It'd be an amazing achievement for me. So please subscribe if you're new, like the video, and stay tuned for more experiments, more Football Manager content in general. And I will catch you next time. Goodbye.